Hi, I'm Linda Lovitch, a media and communications consultant in Israel. I felt that this latest interview with Christianne Amanpour and Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennet is a masterclass in media interviewing techniques. I just had to take it apart and analyze. So hang on, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Clashes with Palestinians in Jerusalem. Now it faces a new mutiny, and rockets have once again been fired between Gaza and Israel less than a year since the last crisis.
First, I need to know the topic, medium, and interviewer. Is it hardcore news with Christianne Amanpour or a breakfast show? Fluffy and entertaining. In this way, I can prepare to face a friendly or hostile interviewer. While Christianne Amanpour speaks about the violence of Palestinians in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, she calls it conflicts on the Temple Mount, already setting the scene and ignoring the full context of the story. The video of the Israeli police stopping the violent acts of the Palestinians in the mosque, but out of context, looks bad. Don't worry, Prime Minister Bennet is going to set her straight. She also says rockets are being fired between Gaza and Israel, meaning it's tit for tat, equal violence on both sides. Don't worry, Bennet also addresses this. Bennet is going to show us how to set an agenda, how to bridge to your messages, the importance of shaping messages ahead of time, and how to reframe the issue. I will also talk about effective use of body language and voice.
Not a great moment for you. Your government is hanging by a thread. Do you think you can remain Prime Minister?
What kind of question is that? Do you think you will remain as Prime Minister?
Well, I think it's vital for Israel to keep the stability and the success of this government.
Now that's what we call bridging. When I'm asked a question I don't really want to answer, I branch to what I want to say. How do I do this? By referencing the question and then going on to what I want to say. You can say, it's interesting you bring this up. We are actually having a special event next week. So Bennet refers to the coalition, since Amanpour asked about his government, and then branches onto something else entirely.
Israel's experiencing the highest growth in the advanced economies, better activity pretty much on every vector. But I want to tell you that our government is a unique experiment. It's the most diverse government in the history of Israel, religious and secular together, right and left, Arabs and Jews. And it transcends Israel itself. It's an experiment in fighting polarization and having decent people that have different views working together.
So now he has branched onto the growth in Israel, the diversity of the government, fighting polarization, great messages, not exactly the ones she asked about. So before you go to an interview, you must make a list of talking points. Many people go with the attitude that, well, they'll ask questions and then I'll answer. No. You will make this list of talking points and find a way to bring them up, no matter what the questions are. There's no excuse, but Linda, she didn't ask me about the launch of our new product. It's your responsibility. He again reminds us that the coalition is diverse, right and left, religious and secular, Jews and Arabs. Correct. Don't assume that the audience knows everything about your subject. Bennet is reminding the international community that there is a large population of Israeli Arab citizens, even in the Israeli parliament and current government coalition. Now, I do want to say something about Prime Minister Bennet's voice and body language. While he remains calm and fairly conversational in his tone, he really needs more expression, warmth. People remember more how you say something than what you say. You want them to be open to listening to you, to appear to be thoughtful, pleasant, confident. It's important to use your hands and smile while speaking. This actually affects your voice and gives it more energy. Even if you are on a podcast or radio interview, I can hear the difference in your voice. His eye contact is great. When you're in a room with an interviewer, you should always look at the interviewer, not the camera. When you are in different rooms, you must look directly at the camera at all times, never looking away, because if you do, it looks like you're nervous, not confident. Prime Minister Bennet does warm up a bit, becomes a bit more expressive, but you have to have this at the very beginning to make a great first impression.
There are something like 14 people on each side now, from Israeli side and from the Palestinian side, who've been killed in these latest clashes. This is a picture that the world has gotten used to now. It's constant cycle of killing, bloodshed, all sides really, really in desperate, dire straits, collective punishment, and just numbers, huge numbers of dead, regularly in Israel in 2022.
Okay, let's look at Christianne Amanpour's question. 14 people have been killed on either side of the conflict, so the violence is the same. And the hyperbole, thanks to Guy Goldstein. Huge numbers of dead, a bit of exaggeration. I actually want to say something about Bennet's resting face while listening. He looks almost mad, the lowered brow. Now, he may be doing this on purpose. At this point, I would still like to see that he is active listening, not a smile, but looking comfortable.
So that's the fact. And there doesn't seem to be any attempt to negotiate an end to the actual conflict. I just wonder whether you're spending any energy and political capital with this diverse coalition to actually try to end this conflict.
Well, first of all, the way the facts were presented is not accurate.
Aha! A very gentle way to say this. You're wrong. Be careful about calling out the reporter. It's their show. They will get insulted and turn it around. That's why it's also good that he puts it in the third person. He keeps his calm. You do not want to appear aggressive early on. Remember, the audience identifies with the interviewer. They know and like her. You must earn their trust.
Israel is peaceful, and about a month ago, unfortunately, a new wave of terror was thrown upon the Israeli public. We lost 14 people in 4 different terror attacks in Beersheba, Hadera, Bnei Brak, in Tel Aviv center, where Arab Muslim terrorists, some of them affiliated with ISIS, just came with rifles and started shooting people on the street. This is unacceptable.
You must frame the story. Establish the terminology. Arab Muslim terrorists. Now, how many times did he say terror?
Terror attacks and terrorists. So I object to the notion of both sides. No, when they don't attack us, we have no issues with them.
Aha, I object to the notion of both sides. Remember, I told you he was going to reframe that? Instead of a cycle of violence, he's showing that it's not equal. He makes it clear that they attack us and then we are forced to take action.
I'm not going to take experiments on the security of the Israelis. Last time in Gaza, we did it about 15 or 16 years ago. We handed Gaza over to the Palestinians. We pulled back to the 67 lines.
Once again, don't assume they know. Give them the most important facts. Nobody remembers that Israel pulled out of Gaza in 2005.
What I will do, and I am doing, is people-to-people peace, bottom up, getting more jobs for Palestinians, better paid jobs, improving the economy. That's what I believe in. And I have to say, the Palestinians are experiencing unprecedented prosperity.
People-to-people peace, prosperity. Bennet bridges to what he has done for the Palestinians. He also gives us this short, catchy slogan that is easy to remember. People will remember 1 or 2 main messages. You must decide what they are and how to say them in a quick soundbite.
When the world sees, and when Palestinians see, and when your region sees Israeli soldiers inside...
Again, he looks almost asleep. The camera may be on you at any time. You are on stage, always. Look alive. Lift your head. Look with intent.
Yeah, well, Christianne, there you go again, starting the story in the middle.
Aha! Now the gloves are off. You have to choose your battles. When to piss off the interviewer. This is strong. You're starting the story in the middle. Therefore, you're not giving the full picture. This is where Bennet explains that there is a cause and effect. Reframing the story. We didn't start it. Don't portray it in this way.
But the actual fact is that last Friday, at about 5 a.m. in the morning, roughly 300 Palestinian rioters entered Temple Mount Mosque with explosives, with stones. They began desecrating their own mosque, burning, throwing stones, and preventing about 80,000 decent Muslims from going to pray. My responsibility as Prime Minister of Israel is to provide freedom of prayer to everyone in Jerusalem, including Muslims, which is why I had to send in policemen to remove the rioters, and it worked. Indeed, 80,000 Muslims went on later to pray peacefully.
Know how to use the story. People remember stories much more than numbers or statistics. Be specific with the images, reframing demonstrators as violent rioters with stones and explosives. He's also making a distinction between peaceful worshipers and those who have come to perpetrate violence. Message: we don't blame everyone. And now he's using his hands, more expression in his face, a little more expression in the voice.
Let me now quote your own Israeli security people. Major General Yehuda Fuchs, who's the commander of your Israeli troops.
We can clearly see steam coming out of his ears listening to this question. Then he shakes his head. Again, he is making a statement without saying anything. When there are two screens and we see both you and the interviewer simultaneously, you can take focus from them by moving your head, changing your expression. Do this sparingly, but you can make a strong statement without words.
No, what you've been projecting is blatantly false.
Why do you say that?
Overwhelming majority. I'll tell you why I say it, because it's a lie, simply a lie.
Okay, so now things are heating up. Yet Bennet keeps his voice calm and not aggressive as he tells her that she is simply saying something not true. You also have to decide who your audience is here. If he wants to connect with a general audience that may know little about the conflict, he must stay calm. Those who are already pro-Israel will be happy that he is putting her in her place. I also appreciate that, for the most part, he allows her to finish speaking. What happens if two people are speaking at once? We don't hear either of them. So either you let the other person finish, or you play chicken and don't say anything important until they give up and it is only you speaking again.
Out of 500,000 Israelis that are decent and law-abiding Israelis living in Judea and Samaria, there's several hundred, perhaps even less, who apply violence from time to time. But who's getting murdered? We're seeing Palestinians murder Israelis. We're not seeing Israelis murdering Palestinians.
Bennet challenges the representation of symmetry again. Equal violence on both sides. He says, Palestinians killing Israelis, not the other way around. Now he has more expression in his voice. It's going up and down more, in part because of more energy through using his hands. And face, eyebrows up. There's some light there. Maybe he just has to get a little pissed off. But this is interesting to watch and listen to.
And that's why there's no symmetry here. And I also object, these are not occupied territories, they're territories in dispute.
He also reframes territories as territories in dispute and not occupied territories.
And we have claim to our own place as well as them. I get it. No one's going anywhere. We have to figure out how to live together. That's my job, to provide security for Israelis, dignity for Palestinians. I'm working on that very hard, and we're succeeding.
Strong message. No one's going anywhere. We have to see how we can live together. Security for Israelis and dignity for Palestinians. Notice also how he makes the pause before and after this last phrase. He really punches it. You must make the main messages stand out.
I'm really sorry, but
Are you really?
Ministers from the past say that that's not fair. There is a Palestinian Authority, which is a partner in peace. However, we're not going to conclude this today, but I want to ask you about Ukraine.
So what have we seen here? When it comes to messaging, it must be strong, concise, vivid, easy to remember. Be specific. Use stories to convey the message. You must prepare your messages ahead of time and find ways to bridge to what you want to say. In this way, you are controlling the agenda. Decide who your audience is. When it comes to body language, you must appear pleasant, confident, someone who is sure about what she says. You want people to be open to listening to you. Smiling and using your hands affects your voice, gives you more expression and energy. Regarding the interviewer, you should not be seen as aggressive toward her, unless she has crossed your red line. Even then, show respect, and of course, do not yell at her. In short, give me 1 or 2 messages I can remember and say it in a way that keeps my attention. Thanks so much for watching. If you too would like to be an expert in interviewing in the media, contact me. We'll make it happen.